No.
Can you take your seat, gentlemen, ladies?
Slowly, slowly. Dear friends, I would like, I would like to ask you to take your seats. We are underway to announce the results. Dear colleagues, dear Secretary General of Council of Europe, it's an honor for me to being shortly here and presiding our great assembly to announce the results for the election for President of the Assembly. So just now I will go through the points announcing the results in every puzzle of the elections. The total number of members voting was 223. The number of spoiled ballot paper was 4. So the number of valid votes was 219. I would like to remind you that 110 votes are required for an absolute majority of the votes cast. So now I'm declaring the results. Mr. Tini Cox has received 175 votes. Mr. Alexander Mereshko received 44 votes. So, looking to the fact that our colleague Tini Cox has received 175 votes, and that is absolute majority of the vote cast, I declare Tini Cox elected President of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe for this ordinary session. I'm glad to congratulate Mr. Cox on your elections. And I would like to invite Mr. Cox to take this place. We spent many years together, so together with you, friends, and Mr. Cox, you will allow me to wish you good, healthy, and safe New Year, and Slava Ukraini. Thank you.
Monsieur le Président, from the Dutch delegation.
Madame la secrétaire générale, Monsieur le secrétaire général adjoint, Madame la secrétaire générale de l'Assemblée parlementaire, Mesdames et Messieurs les ambassadeurs, membres de l'Assemblée, et toutes celles et ceux qui suivent notre réunion en ligne ou depuis la galerie. J'aimerais tout d'abord remercier sincèrement Emmanuel Zingres pour l'ouverture de cette première partie de la session de 2023. Et j'aimerais également remercier M. Alexander Mereshko pour sa participation dans cette élection. Et j'aimerais, chers collègues, vous remercier toutes et tous, membres de l'Assemblée, pour m'avoir réélu comme votre président. Je vous demande votre soutien pour cette année à venir qui pourrait être aussi pleine de défis que l'an dernier. Dear colleagues, last year we were confronted with the beginning of Russia's unilateral war of aggression against our member state, Ukraine. We together had to take unprecedented steps. Less than 1 day after the invasion, we suspended the membership of the Russian Federation in the Council of Europe. Within 3 weeks, we expelled Russia from this organization because of its blatant violation of our statute, which obliges us all to maintain and protect peace in Europe. By crossing Ukraine's borders, as I said several times, Russia also crossed our red lines. Within 2 months, we adopted the proposal to create an ad hoc tribunal to deal with the crime of aggression. And since then, the support for this Assembly's proposal is growing as member states and other international organizations, including the European Parliament, now endorse it. We also adopted many other relevant decisions and took many bold decisions and actions to counter this illegal unilateral aggression and its awful consequences for the state and the people of Ukraine. May I thank all those with whom I worked hard on these matters last year, and I hope we remain as committed, creative, and united this year. Thank you very much, Madam Secretary General, and thank you very much to the ambassadors and the Committee of Ministers, the leaders of the national delegations and political groups, the President of the Congress, the Human Rights Commissioner, and all the others for our intense and fruitful cooperation in these challenging times. And may I ask you all to continue this cooperation, as now we are on the road to Reykjavik for the 4th Summit of Heads of State and Government mid-May, very much also at our request, to decide on the future of the European multilateral cooperation and on our place in Europe's political architecture. May I ask you, dear members of this Assembly, to continue to intensify our functioning as one of the most relevant European agoras to find together sustainable answers to the existential questions in these so dangerous times. May I especially thank the great team of our Secretariat under the leadership of our Assembly's Secretary General, as well as the members of my private office. Together, they make it possible for me and for us to do our work to the best of our abilities, together with the great staff of our whole organization, led by our Secretary General of the Council of Europe, to do the best what we can do, which is so much needed in these very challenging and, as I said, dangerous times. Dear colleagues, the war has been dominating and is dominating and will continue to dominate our agenda and activities. And it is dominating every single day of every single Ukrainian citizen. As we speak, again, Ukrainian people suffer and die in a war that should never have started and must end as soon as possible. May I therefore propose, as we did before, to have a moment of silence for all the victims of this brutal Russian aggression. Thank you so much. I wish to repeat what I have said many times in the past. This war should never, never ever become a normality, and we must not allow our attention to be shifted away from it. It is on our agenda. It will stay on our agenda until we achieve what is set in the statute of this Council of Europe, to achieve peace. I salute the members of the Ukrainian delegation who are with many here amongst us, and I ask them and you all to begin this first plenary session of 2023. Much will be asked from us all, from me, but also from you, and I'm confident that together we can deliver. Thank you very much. Let's now start working. Thank you very much. I hear a point of order. Mr. Little Granger.
Adopted. I've put, oh, I'm so sorry, it took a little time to cut in. Congratulations, Tini, on being adopted. But I wish to talk about a point of order that happened earlier, and I don't know if you heard it. The credentials of the German delegation were challenged because of the situation in Berlin. The person who actually challenged them, I'm not sure if he's in the room, I can't see that far because I haven't got my glasses, but word up the word credentials twice. He's sitting in his place. I've also looked at Rule 7, and I cannot see where you have to use a type wording. If the word challenge credentials was used twice, and it is on the video, Mr. President, it is there, then why were we stopped? I would ask you, Mr. President, that we be allowed to stand on this issue, because I believe that this situation has not been handled well, and I know you were not in the chair, so it is not your blame, but I do think that this is not the way we should, in a democratic organisation, be behaving. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I take note of your remarks, Mr. Little Granger. What I was in the hemicycle, what I saw that a statement was made by a member of the German delegation. I did not hear him indicate whether he was challenging credentials on Rule 7 or Rule 8. Sorry, sir, you do not have the floor, and we behave here in a normal way, so I do not know from which parliament you come, but you do not shout, you do not say rubbish, you just listen, and we are now answering a point of order of Mr. Little Granger. So that was not indicated. The chair then ruled that this was not a challenge of the credentials, and there he asked whether the credentials would be accepted. There was no opposition, and then the credentials have been adopted. Whatever is said now, I will seek advice of the president of the Rules Committee, but these credentials have been adopted. We cannot undo that, and I would like to leave it here. If it's the same point of order, we are not going to continue. You understand that as well, eh? Okay, you have a point of order.
Does this work? My point of order, Mr. President, and congratulations on your election, is that you should look at the video.
Could you please repeat it, because I did not understand?
Mr. President, my point of order is that the words challenge the credentials were used, and all you have to do to believe that is to look at the video. I understand you may not have seen it, but all you have to do is to look at the video.
Thank you very much. But what I concluded, no, sorry, we are now going to stop the discussion. What we do conclude, one, the credentials have been ratified. That is a fact, we cannot change that. And I will seek advice from the chair of the Rules Committee on what has happened, and if needed, we will come back on the issue. But the decisions have been taken, this decision is taken. I now continue with the rest of our agenda. Next item on the agenda is the election of vice presidents of the Assembly. 18 nominations for vice presidents are listed in document AS/info 2023-01. If there is no request for a vote, they will be declared elected. I do not see a request for the vote. Since there is no request for the vote, I declare these candidates elected as vice president. I congratulate them all on their election, and the vice presidents shall take precedence by age. The next item on our agenda is the appointment of members of committees. The candidatures for the general committees of the Assembly have been published in document Committees 2023-01 and addendum number 1. Are these proposals agreed? I do not see any objection, so they are approved, and the committees are appointed accordingly and can now, from now, function. Let's see where the agenda brings us now. Before we examine the draft agenda, the Assembly needs to consider requests for debates on urgent and current affairs procedures. The Bureau has received the following: a request on an urgent procedure on the legal and human rights aspects of the Russian Federation aggression against Ukraine, requested by the Committee on Legal Affairs and Human Rights, a request for a current affairs debate on recent tensions between Pristina and Belgrade, requested by the United Kingdom delegation, a request for a debate under urgent procedure on attacks against public service workers, requested by the ECDA group, a request for a current affairs debate on how to improve Council of Europe's cooperation with civil society as a way to strengthen and protect human rights, democracy and the rule of law, including in Belarus and the Russian Federation, from the Norwegian delegation, and a request for a current affairs debate on addressing the humanitarian consequences of the blockade of the Lachin corridor. I inform you that at its meeting this morning, the Bureau decided to recommend to the Assembly to hold the urgent debate on legal issues and humanitarian rights violations related to the aggression of the Russian Federation against Ukraine, as well as the current affairs debate on recent tensions between Pristina and Belgrade and addressing the humanitarian consequences of the blockade of the Lachin corridor. We will first consider the request for debate under urgent procedure. Does the Assembly agree to the Bureau's recommendation to hold an urgent debate on legal and human rights aspects on the Russian Federation aggression against Ukraine? I do not see objection, so the Bureau's recommendation is accepted and the request for urgent procedure is therefore approved. It's proposed that the debate will take place on Thursday morning as set out in the agenda and be referred to the Committee on Legal Affairs and Human Rights. As said at this morning, the Bureau agreed to recommend the Assembly that the request from the ACDA group for a debate on the urgent procedures on attacks against public services is not supported. Is the Bureau's recommendation accepted? Sir?
Car burnings and target attacks on firefighters, medical staff and security forces on New Year's Eve have become a yearly habit in several countries. Belgium, France, Germany, Netherlands, Austria, Sweden. Public servicemen and women are there to protect and help us.
It's not time to have a long statement.
I want to ask for a vote to put this debate under urgent procedure back on the agenda.
Mr. Little-Granger?
Mr. President, thank you very much. The reason this is important...
Sorry, Ian, I'm now not following the rules. We have one speaker on each issue, so
right.
We will surely hear from you during the week, Ian, but here you have to follow the rules. Okay. No. We have now this request for a vote. Shall we? That means that we have to put it to the vote?
Yes.
Yes?
One speaker.
And as you see, I'm just elected, so I have to, I could not see these files before because that would not have been fair. But there is an objection to the Bureau's recommendation on the request for an urgent debate on attacks against public workers, and we therefore must proceed to the vote. We will hear one speaker for the request, one speaker against, and a representative of the Bureau speaking in its name. Who wishes to speak in favor of holding this debate? Sir, you have the floor. 30 seconds.
And targeted attacks on firefighters, medical staff and security forces on New Year's Eve have become a yearly habit in several countries. Belgium, France, Germany, Netherlands, Austria, Sweden. I can name them all. Public servicemen and women are there to protect and help us. We owe it to them to give these terrible crimes the necessary attention in this assembly. So I want to ask for a vote to put this debate under urgent procedure back on the agenda where it belongs.
Thank you very much, sir. Who wants to speak against the request? Nobody wants to speak against this. Oh, sorry, George Katrougalis.
I would like to support the decision of the Presidential Committee of the Bureau to proceed with the debates that we have already decided. But I should also consider on its merits the request for the urgent debate by the European Conservatives group. I think that what they promote, that the celebration of a perceived injustice not to become a pretext for mass riots, arson and vandalism, is not of emergent, of the character of an emergency that needs to be discussed. And in my understanding, also, it is a kind of criticism to demonstrations in general, not violent demonstration, not this kind of events that we all wanted to avoid.
Your 30 seconds have passed. We have now had one speaker in favor, one. We now shall vote on the request for urgent procedure. Please listen carefully. The decision needs 2/3 majority. Those who are in favor of holding this debate should vote yes. Those who are against holding such a debate should vote no. The vote is open. I close the vote. I call for the results to be displayed. The request is rejected, as it does not have 2/3 majority. We are now on page 25. We now come to the consideration of the request for current affairs debate on Rule 53.1. The Assembly may hold 1 or 2 current affairs debates. The first request is for a current affair debate on the recent tensions between Pristina and Belgrade from the United Kingdom delegation. At this meeting this morning, the Bureau approved this request and therefore recommends to the Assembly that the matter be debated during this part session. Does the Assembly agree to this recommendation? I do not see any objection. Therefore, the request for a current affairs debate is therefore approved, and the debate will be opened by Mr. John Howell. We now come to the second request for a current affairs debate on addressing the humanitarian consequences of the blockade of the Lachin corridor from the United Kingdom delegation. At this meeting this morning, the Bureau approved this request and therefore recommends to the Assembly that the matter be debated during this part session. Does the Assembly agree to this recommendation? I do not see any objection.
Correct, please. It's the Presidential Committee. It's not the UK delegation.
I do not see any objection. I have to inform you that this was a proposal from the Presidential Committee. I see an objection. Mr. Seedorf.
Mr. President, let me first of all congratulate you with your re-election to this position, and I hope that you will be able to manage this Assembly in a very acceptable way. Today early in the morning we see some problematic issues which are very strange, especially for me as a member of the EC group. Mr. President of our group already mentioned about that. But I'm against this current affairs debate, of course, because this is not true. I know that I will be in minority, but I have to say that this is not true. The Lachin corridor is open, and that's why when you are entitled, said that humanitarian consequences of blockade, this is exactly against the realities in the region. That's why I am completely against, and I have proofs for that. I will be able, I hope, to present to this assembly the real facts that the road is open and nobody is going to block the road. But some forces try to present the situation in absolutely upside-down situation, and that's why I'm against.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seydov. You spoke against this debate. Does anybody wants to speak? No, first we are going to finish this one. Yes, I hear you, sir, but first we are going to finish this one. Does anyone speak in favor of the debate to be held? Does anybody wish to speak in favor of the debate to be held?
He can speak against, no?
Do you want to speak against? Mr. Rubinian, you have the floor for a point of order.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think we shouldn't accept the objection by Mr. Seydov simply because you asked, is there anyone against? There was no sound after that. Then you said, okay, no one against. It was after that that Mr. Seydov said that he objects.
Point taken, but we have listened to Mr. Seydov, we are listening to you, and now you wanted to speak in favor of the debate, Mr.
Yes,
Rubinian.
now I have to speak in favor, but I still think that this is against the order. Anyway, the situation, the Lachin corridor is blocked, and we have a catastrophic situation in Nagorno-Karabakh. It's a humanitarian crisis. It's not even a crisis in the making anymore. It is a crisis, and it has to be debated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now shall put the proposal to the vote. A simple majority is needed. Those who are in favor of holding the current affairs debate should vote yes. Those who are opposed to hold this debate should vote no. The vote is open. I close the vote and I call for the results to be displayed, and the current affairs debate is approved. Mr. Paul Gavin will open, Mr. Pierre-Alain Frides is going to open the debate. Then, we now come to a request for a current affairs debate. Now, we already have adopted two, eh? So that ends the story.
Exactly.
So we cannot deal with a third request because we have already adopted two current affairs debates. So, the draft agenda, no. The next item of the business is the adoption of the agenda for the first part session of the 2023 ordinary session. The draft agenda submitted for the Assembly's approval was adopted by the Bureau this morning. Is the draft agenda agreed? It is. Should we go now far? Any additions to this, or we finish that? 34. We now come to the adoption of the minutes of the proceedings of the standing committees. The minutes of the standing committee in Reykjavik on the 25th of November have been distributed. I invite the Assembly to take note of these minutes. That is the case. The Assembly will hold its next public sitting this afternoon at 3:30 p.m. with the agenda which was approved this morning. Sorry for some misunderstanding in the beginning of this debate. I hope the rest of the week will be excellent. The sitting is adjourned.